LeBron James was extremely frustrated after Tuesday's loss to the Jazz. LBJ was issued a technical in the first quarter when he shouted at referee Tyler Ford after being fouled by Shelvin Mack. When asked if his shouting was a result of the way he's been officiated lately, LeBron had this to say.
You got technical today. It was pretty rare for you.
Yeah, I got fouled.
Yeah. Has there been any frustration with
It is. It is.
where you've been officiated lately?
It is, but I know what the main thing is. The main thing is to win, but it is. It is.
Max, do you like the way LeBron is handling this?
I do. As with most things, I like the way LeBron handles stuff. I think that he has been such a solid citizen, and such his presence has been so beneficial to the league. I think he's established so much credibility as a solid citizen that he's like the captain of the football team, or the valedictorian, or the model student who has something to say to the vice principal, right? Like, the vice principal has to actually listen to what they say respectfully, or doesn't have to, but may be inclined to. I think that LeBron has legitimate beef. He's officiated differently. We all know that. As Shaquille O'Neal once upon a time was. He's so big and strong and so fast, so powerful, that if he's officiated within the rules, it's not even fair. And so they kind of bend the rules. And he doesn't get the whistles he should get. And at a certain point, and he hasn't complained about it, I wouldn't call LeBron a whiner about it, but at a certain point he's like, okay, maybe it would be to my team's advantage if I just raise the awareness of the fact that, I really should be officiated fairly. And because of his track record, and because of what he means to the league, as long as he does it respectfully, I think it will actually have a beneficial effect, the intended effect from LeBron. I think he will be more likely, not less likely, to get the whistle.
Let's start with what you're right on. You're right that LeBron doesn't get the calls he deserves. He suffers from the Shaq effect. He's bigger, stronger, faster, and flat out better than everybody else in the league. Defenders bounce off of him. Refs don't call it. That's a fact. The question is this: how has he handled it? What'd you call him? The model student?
Yes.
Captain of the student
That's
body?
Right. No, football
student
team.
Body president?
He's that.
Right.
He's the kid that did everything right and has built credibility with the administration.
Somehow you take his side of the argument and insult him along the way.
How's
He's
that?
more than that, man. He's the face of the NBA.
Of course.
He is the NBA. And that's why he's wrong to do what he did. Now, don't get me wrong. LeBron didn't step way over the line, but his toe is crossing it here. And here's why. LeBron is the NBA. 3 reasons. Number one, as the face of the NBA, his job is to protect the integrity of the game. That is above and beyond himself. He has to look out for interests greater than LeBron James. It's flat out part of the job. If you go out looking for getting every single call right for you, or complaining about officiating, you are thinking about yourself when you are actually bigger than yourself at this point. Number two, for consistency's purposes, he shouldn't be doing or saying anything close to this, because he just a few weeks ago said he didn't like the NBA's 2-minute report. Kevin Durant said it throws the referees under the bus. LeBron said the same thing. He said this makes it look like we don't support the refs. They do 48 minutes of decisions, and it looks like in the end we're second-guessing every one of them. Well, that's exactly what he's doing here. He's asking for doubt. He's asking for criticism on the referees. Is he wrong? No. The question is this the right way to do it? With a camera in your face, with a media scrum around you, that's not the right place to do it. The captain of the student body, or the president, or whatever the analogy was, goes to the principal behind the scenes. He doesn't go to the front of the auditorium at a class assembly and go, you know what? This guy is messed up.
Don't torture the metaphor. The point is,
I think I'm hitting it pretty well.
We're staying in grade school.
Right, exactly. The point is that he is also a human being, and not every single decision he makes will be premeditated and for a pointed effect. It may be that in the moment he is also genuinely frustrated by the fact that the million times he didn't get the whistle and deserved it actually hurt his team. Also, the idea that you assert that you are the face of the league and therefore your responsibility is not to yourself, well, you have competing interests there at best. I mean, if you want to say he's the face of the league and therefore has some kind of extra responsibility
without a doubt,
that supersedes his own personal interest and professional interest as an NBA player, where actually, ethically speaking, his interest has to be toward himself and his team. Maybe kind of loosely, realistically speaking, he also has a kind of higher unspoken responsibility to the league, but that doesn't supersede his own ethical responsibility to himself and his team.
You keep making arguments as though LeBron is a normal person or a normal player in the NBA. He's not.
And that's how the refs are calling it.
When
he's trying to correct that.
When he's great, we all laud him for his superhuman abilities. When he's doing something like this, we can't apply the normal standard to him again. We have to apply the same superhuman standard.
So I just want to, for clarification. So he not only needs he needs to give you a handicap to begin with, like you're playing golf. But then in addition
Max,
to that,
you're manipulating my argument, but I catch you in real time.
That's what we're doing.
I'm not suggesting that he can't complain about the referees not getting the calls right. It's about how he does it. Go behind the scenes. Talk to the referees union. Talk to the NBA.
How do you know he hasn't done that?
Well, I don't, but I know what he did in front of the scenes.
And at a certain point, Listen, Phil Jackson used to do this, coaches do this, players have done this. You think Michael Jordan never complained about a call?
Every argument I've ever made when it comes to LeBron James is to hold him to the higher standard that he rightfully deserves. LeBron James should be held to a higher standard because he's great, because he's LeBron James.
And he has been held to a higher standard, and he's passed with flying colors.
This makes him every other NBA player. This makes him normal. And by the way, it also makes him wrong in the end. Yes, he's not getting the calls, but it's small. The Cavs have lost 3 of their last 5 games, not because of these calls. They've lost them because they turned the ball over more than they've had assists.
So what you're pointing out is he may be frustrated for other reasons, and therefore human is entitled to vent his frustration like everybody at certain points in their lives, even if it's not the perfect time or place. Or what you're saying is not only should he be held to a different standard than everyone else in terms of the way it's officiated, but in addition to that, he should be held to a different standard in terms of his ability to look for
his grievances. He doesn't have a different standard. He shouldn't have a different standard on how he's officiated. On that, I think, where he's sitting here, we all 3 agree that what we have a difference on is how he handles it. And yes, he should have a different standard. Rajon Rondo can go in front of a referee, go in front of a camera and complain about the referees, and it's not going to go beyond his bounds because he's Rajon Rondo. But LeBron James is not. He's LeBron James.
Publicly calling out officials, depending on how you do it and who you are, can have beneficial consequences to you and your team. I mentioned Phil Jackson before, but there have been other superstars in the NBA who have pointed out that officials haven't blown the whistle or have blown the whistle when they shouldn't. And at times, the feeling has been, yes, that actually helped them. It raised awareness about it.
Don't you find an inconsistency in the fact that he thinks the 2-minute report undercuts the credibility of the NBA refs, but complaining about them in front of a camera doesn't? You don't find an inconsistency there?
No, one is an official action by the league, and in spite of what you insist his unofficial position is, he is not actually the ambassador for the league when he is competing against another team. He's a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers and has a responsibility to his team.
He's always the ambassador of the league. Again, just for clarification, it's not that the referees are right. It's not that he doesn't have a right to complain. It's how he does it. The captain of the student body, Max, goes to the vice principal's office after.
Just for clarification, it's not that you're right.
We're going to bring it full circle. Are you not entertained? When we come back here on First Take with these 2 lovely gentlemen and Darren Woodson, they are probably the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL. So is the best possible matchups got to be Brady's Patriots versus Rodgers' Packers, or is it? You do not want to miss this discussion. That's coming up. Dak, Zeke, and Dez lighting up the NFL, but can we already start comparing them to Troy, Emmett, and Michael? One of the original Cowboys triplets, Michael Irvin, will tell us if the new are as good as the original.